Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. Do not mind my appearance or if I sound like I'm tired. I slept horribly last night and then I had to work today and I had to do a bunch of things for schoolwork. So you get like hours old hair that hasn't been fixed and me just trying to be as happy as possible, but yeah, so this is my the books that I read in February, but like the last half of February. There'll be my mid-month wrap-up, linked in the iCard and the description, and I go first through stats and did I complete my monthly goals. So let's start off with that. Let's start off with those. In February I read 14 books, which it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but compared to January, in January I read 7 more books than February. But in February I started working a lot more. Like in January I was only working like 1 or 2 days a week, versus in February now I'm working anywhere from 4 to 6 days a week. So working a lot more. I read 5,996 pages. My average rating was a 4.3. I read 2 adult and 12 YA, and the genres that I read are 1 classic, 2 contemporary, 1 erotic, we'll get to that, 9 fantasy, 1 historical. What was the 1 historical? 1 historical, which I forgot that one was labeled historical. And then as for my personal monthly goals, so for read 3 or more genres, I read, if my math counted correctly, I read 5 different genres. For for reading 1 LGBTQ plus book, I didn't read any, which I'm upset about. But I did read 1 book that did have some queer characters in it. But I guess this just wasn't the month for reading LGBTQ plus books. But these monthly goals I have no punishments for, thankfully. To read 1 POC author, I read 2. 1 Rick Riordan book, I read 1. And for 2 or more age ranges, I read 2. So 1 goal wasn't completed, but I don't feel that bad about it, because this is only the 2nd month that I'm doing these monthly things, and being 1 could be worse. Now on to the actual books that I read, now that we're done with the stats. So the first book that I finished in the last half is Riordan Rising by Leigh Bardugo, and I have explained this series literally probably 6 to 10 times in the last 2 months. But Riordan Rising is the final book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. Shadow and Bone, we follow Alina Starkov, who is a map maker in the army. And in this world, there is this giant, it's called the Shadowfold, where it's essentially darkness and there's monsters inside, and when she has to go across this for reasons, it is discovered that she has these abilities that she has to train for, and that's a sucky description, but Riordan Rising, I will have to say, is my least favorite book in the series. A lot of things do just happen for convenience sake, I guess. And one of the things, a second read through, I understand it even less. But I am so excited for the TV show to come out. We got a trailer a few days ago from when I'm filming this and uploading this. That trailer, I'm still dying for, and that's why I'm doing a reread of all of Leigh Bardugo's books for the TV show and for Rule of Wolves release at the end of March. Next, I read Slay by Brittany Morris, and this was the like group book for the Avengers readathon. And this we follow 17-year-old Kira, who created this virtual reality video game for like the Black community after she realized that there wasn't a safe space for the Black community, and it's a VR like game based on things centered in the Black community, and when a real-life death occurs because of this video game, it's kind of Kira struggling to decide what to do because nobody knows that she's the creator of this video game, and she's like, do I tell them, do I not? And also there's this person that is like against this video game, labeling that the video game is racist because it only is for the Black community and all of that. And this I gave a 4 stars, and I forgot to mention I gave Riordan Rising 4 stars. But I did really enjoy Slay. It was a really good book. We saw multiple point of views, and I really like the game itself. I really like the video game itself, and just some of the topics we talk about are needed, I guess, is, ow, I just smacked my finger, is like what I'm kind of trying to say. So this next one, I'm laughing because I read it. But I read Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight. Now, do not judge me. If you don't know what Den of Vipers is about, I'm going to poorly explain it while trying not to laugh because I hate to admit that I've read this. But essentially, Den of Vipers is kind of a erotic mafia book where a like we follow Roxy, who is essentially sold to these group of mafia guys that are called the Vipers, and there's 4 of them, and essentially it is just, there's no plot, but essentially it's her getting screwed by all of them, and it's really full of smut. There's very little plot. It's just like a mafia story, which is something that I don't really read. I've never read an erotic before. I still don't know why I picked it up randomly. I was just like, let's read it. Like all of February, I kept on seeing it all over like Facebook, like on Facebook book groups and TikTok and all that. And then I think it was Valentine's Day that I was like, fuck it, why not? It's on Kindle Unlimited, might as well. And I gave Den of Vipers 5 stars, not because it has a good plot, not because it has good characters, but because I enjoyed this so much, and I'm like, feel wrong for admitting it, but like, I just enjoyed it so much. And again, I feel like embarrassed for reading it because like, if you've read it, it's intense. It's intense. Like, let's just say if you've read this, you know what I'm talking about with the knife and the gun, and if you can imagine what those would be doing in a erotic mafia romance, just, yeah, put your head in the gutter for that one. I still can't get over that. Like, it's a 5 star because of enjoyment. It has no plot. The characters are mediocre. The characters are fucked up, honestly, but yeah. This next one is a book that I had to read for school. Well, a book, it's a play that I had to read for school, and you bet your ass I'm counting anything I read for school for my, like, books read, and the book I read was The Miracle Worker, a play by William Gibson, and this is a, like, play from the 50s about a girl that when she was a baby ended up with like a flu and then ended up being blind, deaf, and mute. That's all I'm gonna explain. I didn't give it a rating because it's for school and I just didn't enjoy it, so it's not rated, I guess. Next we have Fight for Her by Liz Plum, and this isn't released until March 9th. I had an arc through NetGalley, and Fight for Her was originally on Wattpad as a story that I read in 2018 for the first time, and it's one of the books that kind of got me into reading books on Wattpad and ultimately reading books, because I originally was reading on Wattpad and then slowly moved to like published books. But Fight for Her, we follow a 17-year-old Scarlett Tucker whose father is the owner of these auto repair companies, and essentially that means she's rich. She is the her boyfriend is the school's like quarterback, therefore she's popular because of him. And Scarlett is also dealing with her brother's death that happened a few years prior. I can't remember, I think it's like 2 years prior, 2 or 3 years prior. And when Scarlett literally bumps into the bad boy of the school, Elijah Black, her world kind of changes as eventually Scarlett and Elijah become friends, and it's revealed that Elijah isn't a like bad boy. He's just misunderstood, and his life around him is what causes him to have that like bad boy reputation. And this I gave 5 stars. I'm realizing I'm gonna change the rating now, which means that the other rating changed. Whatever. And this I gave it a 4 star. I'm switching it to a 5 star because I'm realizing how much I like it. But again, I love this. We talk about death and secrets and realizing that maybe you're not in love with the person that you're supposed to be. And yeah. Next we have The Dark Prophecy by Riordan, and this I gave a 3 star. I didn't really like The Dark Prophecy. I just don't know why, but I just didn't. Essentially, The Dark Prophecy is the second book in the Trials of Apollo series, where we follow the god Apollo, who has been turned human by Zeus and must kind of, I guess, find his way to being back a god, I guess. And this, I don't know, I just didn't like it. Like, it just kind of almost felt like a chore to read, which is why it's a 3 star. Like, there were some parts that I really liked, but then there's others that I was just like, okay, come on, like, let's just do this, let's get this through. Like, I don't remember much of it, honestly, and I only finished it, like, less than a week ago. So, like, yeah. Now, A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I gave this 5 stars. What do I say? I'm going to have an entire review and an entire reading vlog for this book uploaded hopefully within the week of this video being uploaded. I'm still currently editing those. But A Court of Silver Flames is the 4th book in the A Court of Thorn and Roses series. I'm not going to explain what the first book is about because, well, it's the 4th in the series, but it's like almost like its own series itself. But in this we follow, if you've read the first 3 books, you would know, we follow Cassian and Nesta as Cassian is needing to train Nesta in the Illyrian Mountains, and we talk about so many different topics in this book. It is like pretty smutty, nothing compared to Den of Vipers, but it's still pretty smutty, which, like, you best believe I was squealing, and, like, yeah, I gave this a 5 star. This was my, like, most anticipated This is one of my most anticipated books of the year. I think the only other book I'm equally as excited for is Chain of Iron, which comes out tomorrow as I'm filming this, and yesterday on the day I'm uploading this. And yeah, I just really like this. It's an adult fantasy. I very rarely read those. But yeah. The next book I finished was, if I hold it up the right way, is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, and this is the second book in the Six of Crows duology. And Six of Crows, we follow 6 teenagers who go on this essentially impossible heist to find the creator of this like drug that somebody wants, they're being paid for to do it and all of that. And this is like one of my favorite books, probably maybe in my top 10, top 15. Again, doing a reread because of the Shadow and Bone TV show, which contains the characters from like the Six of Crows duology as well. Not very prevalent, like not very heavy and very prevalent in the first season, but eventually will, hopefully, if we get more seasons. But this, I gave 5 stars. This is my 3rd time reading this book. 3rd time in about a year and a half. First read this in this series, like this duology, in end of October, beginning of November 2019. So it's been 3 times in a year and a half. I don't absolutely love this series. But again, I don't really have much to say because I've read this book multiple times. I knew exactly what was happening, but still so many of the moments just pulled at my heartstrings. Just like, oh yeah, that's gonna blah. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then the final book that I read this month is The Heir by Frost K, which is the 3rd book in the Twisted Kingdom series. And the first book in the Twisted Kingdom series is, the heck is it called? The Hunt. I forgot the book for a second there, what the first one was. And The Hunt, we follow a girl named Tempest, who is the first ever female hound. And a female hound is essentially like an assassin. And when she goes through, like, she has to go through the set of, I think it's 3 trials to become, like, officially become a hound. After that, she is sent on a mission to kill the Jester, who is somebody that has been, who has been, like, causing a, like, illness to spread by polluting the waters of the country. And Tempest must bring his, is it his heart to the king? Yeah, it's his heart to the king. And we go from there, and this is the 3rd book, so I can't describe it. But I gave this a 4-star. I do not like it as much as the first 2 because it felt so much, like, faster. Which is weird because I read the first book in 2 days. I read the second book in 1 night. And then this one I read in like 3 days, and it felt like it was going by so quick. There was so much going on, and it almost felt like everything was going too fast. Like, it was like one thing, another thing, another thing, and that's what really kind of like pulled me back and was just kind of like, everything is going too fast. Sometimes a really fast plot is what I want, but this, I was kind of wanting everything to be pulled back a little bit. I wish the romance was a bit more heavier. But in the end, 4 stars. I 100% will be continuing with this series. The 4th book comes out like in the fall, and I really like this series. So those were all the books that I read this month. And yeah, I don't have really anything else to say. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye!